Well, hey, good morning. Welcome back. And look who's with me today.
Ta-da!
My man's back. And Matt is holding down the fort at home. He's been blessed with another child. You want to tell everybody her name?
Yes, Daphne Faye Rogers, born on Labor Day.
How about that?
As I have to remember another date now. But whole family happy, healthy. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks for reaching out and all the love. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't know. There's something about babies and watching that new life come into the world and watch families grow and watch how everybody responds to that. Just something beautiful that I don't think we take enough time to reflect on. And, Matt was even talking about some of the people, how awesome it's been with some of the people that have sent presents and sent cards and just texts. And it's cool how it brings everybody together. So.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, thanks for the presents. It's not about presents, but just some of the people that in our life that took a moment to think about us is really cool. And as you look, and for me personally, as I plan out my day, I plan out my weeks, and I start getting going again. We always talk about who's that one person that you should probably be connecting with more. Who's that one person that deserves a little bit more time in your week. This week based off a role in your life. And I think if there's one thing that's really hit me is through all that love and support, but, getting back in the cadence of reaching out to all of those people because it's super important. And it shouldn't take something as beautiful as this to reconnect. I'm going to use it as a springboard. So that's fantastic. But why don't you take the rest of the show and I'm going to take a nap?
Yeah, okay. Because I think Matt said today he came in the office to get rest because this is the first time he's been around in 2 weeks. But we want to focus on that little bit of connection today as well. What do we learn from this process? What do we learn from the Rogers family's growing? What do we learn from this new life? What do we learn from these beautiful moments that bind people together? And we recently went through this in our family on the other end, right? And Matt's dealing with the birth of Daphne Faye and watching Lucy Grace turn into this great big sister and watch her involvement and starting to go to school. And all these things that how we build community or how we build our relationships with people and let people know we care. On the other side for our family, as you all know, we recently went through the loss of somebody we love. And that was Susie's father, my father-in-law, Steve Donafy. And his life impacted so many people that when we go through the funeral, when you go through this time of loss, you realize the impact of the life. You realize how many people you touched. You realize how many people you're important to because of the outpouring we saw. And it makes us think, what are we doing to be intentional, right? What are we doing to be intentional with people in our lives, with those relationships that we need to make sure we're pouring into? Who needs to hear from us? And, I think that I'm not always very good at that. The moments that I'm good at, I feel pretty proud of myself about, like, hey, I sent somebody that text, and I said hello. But I think that, that's something to think about is who needs to hear from us today? And it's not from just a sales perspective. Like, who do I need to reach out to because I need to get something closed this month? Yes, that's very important. And yes, we're going to have better chances of closing things if we actually communicate with people. But how many people that are prospects that are in our circle of influence or in our circle of acquaintances who are potentially prospects should we just be reaching out to because they might need to hear somebody today? What clients, what customers of ours need to hear from us today? Not because we have something we want them to buy, but just because, right? And that is such an overlooked piece of prospecting and a piece of just goodness. And, we always talk about how the two don't have to be separated. You can just be a really good person and be really good at relationship and really care about other people. And that translates into being pretty good at prospecting.
Yeah, no doubt. And, we always talk about, or at least myself in the coaching, I find that many people struggle to prospect because they don't necessarily know who to prospect with. And they want to be so perfect in the CRM and lists of people. And, we want to be effective, efficient, intentional about who we're doing it with. But you're right. It's something as simple as just being able to reach out and check in, see how we're doing. What's the one thing, not to take it business wise, but those conversations that I love with current customers, what's the one thing we can be doing better? Something like that after discussing, whatever it may be, of just reaching out. So I think when we take that approach of who needs to hear from us, let's just reach out. I love the fact that we're doing it.
Right.
Because I think let's do it. And then if we need to change or evolve from a prospecting approach, we could do that after, but let's not let the whiteboard get in the way with doing it.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's hello.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that, for me is a great place to start. I know I take it business and you take it more overall, but overall as a good human being.
There you go. You okay to do that, Matt?
I don't know. I'm just, come on, I'm back in work. I'm ready to go. I'm going to call some people today.
Beating me up about my forecast and my pipeline already. Like, Matt, how's the baby? Come on. So, but it's that, we've often said nobody cares what you know till they know that you care. Mm-hmm. So who can you maybe let today, who today can we stop and say, I need to let them know I care? Right. And it can be simple things and it isn't solved today. But how do you start thinking about who you want to be relationship wise and how you want to leave your legacy and how you want to leave your mark and how you want people to think of you? I don't know how I started doing this, but along the line, when somebody told me their birthday or if somebody tells me their anniversary or, a special day in their life, I go to my calendar because we always have our phones. I go to my calendar and I put it on there. It's their birthday. I make it recurring every year. Show the time is free. And
drives me nuts because he has like 8 birthdays. I'm thinking, when am I supposed to meet with him? And I'm like, oh, okay, they're just birthday reminders. I think he's like a full day of work from the reminders in there.
Matt knows I have no full days of work, right? So I try to stay away from that. But so we share calendars. We can see each other's calendar and it pulls up on both of our phones all the time. So when he sees all those, that's his point on the top of the list about what? And it's just birthdays. Yeah. And it gives me a way every day almost. Because, virtually every day there's a birthday.
Multiple, usually.
Yeah. Or an anniversary or whatever it might be. And it gives me a way to say, okay, here's somebody I'm going to connect with today. I'm going to send them a note, let them know I know it's their birthday. It's simple. It's easy, but it's having that programmed way of letting people know you care.
So let me ask you this because, we talk about don't be the fish on the wall salesperson, and I think people are more natural at building that rapport and discussions such as birthdays, and because I don't want people to misconstrue that and walk into a meeting and say, "Hey, when's your birthday? I'm going to get you a birthday card every single time." You do it very naturally. You're very good at that. Me, probably middle of the road. Not as much. So how do you make that natural and how do you make that genuine, I guess? Again, just in life in general, not necessarily prospecting, but I think there's just such a fine line of coming off as disingenuous with something like that with, showing that you do care.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to being you, be authentic.
Yeah.
Like if you really don't care when somebody's birthday is, if you're that type of person, then don't pretend. And it's just, I'm using that as an example of something that works for me.
Yeah.
So when I'm I'm pretty good at connecting with people and listening. Yeah. So if I'm in the course of conversation and, you're around a group with 3, 4, 5 guys and one of the guys says it's his birthday. It's like, oh, that's pretty easy. I could do that one. And other folks are talking and someone else volunteers. Oh yeah, my birthday's December 12th. I'm putting that one in. If it's easy to do, if it makes sense, it doesn't become something that's disingenuous. I think anything that goes, and the easiest way for me to kind of filter that out of what's genuine versus what's being disingenuous is it for me? Is it for them? So if I come into a room and I'm like, oh, I want to start collecting people's birthdays so I can put them on my calendar. I say to somebody, by the way, when's your birthday? So, because I need something that I need to get on my calendar. Well, that's for me versus just listening, capturing that, understanding that, putting it in and saying, oh, this is something I'm going to do nice for me.
And I think it's probably the note that you send as well. Happy birthday, have a great day versus happy birthday, have a great day. Who's the one person we could be talking to? And you turned it into a referral text.
Choked me up.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Have a good day. But when can we meet from a business perspective?
Oh, by the way, on your birthday, my gift to you is time with me. Right. So when can we meet?
No, but I think I think that's a great example because it's something that does come up in coaching because you can hear those people that are just pushing way too hard for the personal stuff. And I always think that the best thing that you can do is solve someone's problem.
Yes.
From a business perspective,
Yes.
it's not necessarily to be fishing around and say, oh, you went to Disneyland. I have a kid. Do you have a kid?
Yeah, would you help me plan the trip? Would you do instant pasties? Yeah,
where stuff will naturally happen, will naturally come out. When you're solving people's problems, and again, you don't have to shut that down because there are some prospects and people that like to talk about that stuff, or they don't know necessarily what to talk about. So you come into the room and they're immediately, hey, how was the weekend? How about the Steeler game? Talk to me about that weather. What trips are you taking next June? So
I actually have somebody who recently told me that on Monday and Tuesday, they ask people when they have meetings with prospects, clients on Mondays and Tuesdays, they like to ask, how was your weekend? And then on Thursdays and Fridays, they like to ask, are you doing anything special this weekend? And that's their rhythm, right? So it's just their way. For me, completely disingenuous. I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
Because I don't care. I just have no patience for the small talk.
Oh, take your grits on fishing.
Good for you.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I just can't go there. Just don't get into the small talk. I need something with substance now. So, like for me to just say, "Hey, how was the weekend?" It's going to come across very disingenuous. When they're talking to me, my eyes are going to be going somewhere else. I'm not going to be in the moment. So that's not good for me.
Right.
But for people who can, or people who can program themselves for that and be in the moment and care, great. Nobody cares what you know till they know that you care. But, we go back to all the time about, we don't want to talk about the fish on the wall, like, oh, you fish, I fish. It's more important, I think, to talk about some of their business goals and who they are as a person. I think it's perfectly okay, right? Perfectly okay to understand about their families, to understand about what moves them, understand about what passions they share. If they do have things that they go down the path of charitable causes they care about and things, right? That's fine. That's fine. As a matter of fact, that's critical. Because if we say, oh, I'm not going to talk about that, I'm going to get to business, then go back to our filter. Who's that for? Right? Is it for me? So I want to get my needs met, or is it for them that I'm here to help meet their needs? That's the line. Is it selfish? That's bad. Is it for them? That's good.
Well, I think too that just the difference there is earning trust. I think when people start to trust you, we say people buy from people that they trust. And if you give invitations to conversations throughout your sales process, whether it's professional or personal, that will naturally happen. I think the thing that we're guarding against is when it's just so manufactured that it doesn't serve a purpose, and it can even turn people off. So I think you said it best. When it's for someone else, you're on the right track. Whether it's finding out birthdays or reaching out and calling somebody. So I think that's the right lens to view it through. And I'd say today, who's that one person that you should reach out to?
Who needs to hear from you today?
Yep.
Who needs to hear from you today? Who's a client that needs to hear from you? When we reach out to people unexpectedly, when we check in on them, when we let them know we care, when we let them know we're thinking of them, it makes them feel better about themselves. So today's challenge, as Matt laid out, who's that one person that needs to hear from you? Who's that one client, that one prospect? Who's that one friend? Who's that one family member? You can make a list. When you start thinking of who's the one, You're going to go through a list where you're going to have 5, 6, 7 calls to make today. You're going to enrich 5, 6, 7 lives. You're going to be a light to those people, and you're going to advance your relationships. When we do that, good things happen to us. So go make connection with somebody. Let them know you care. Have a great week. Take care, and God bless.